When we think about unlocking some quick cash, we usually think about stocks or maybe some other investment. But what if I told you the key wasn't in some app, but was actually ticking away right on your wrist? Today, we're doing more than just looking at a beautiful watch. We're going to crack open the financial secrets of a 250-year-old brand and see exactly how experts turn these little machines into cold, hard capital.
And that brings us to the big question, right? In a world full of crypto and all this high-tech finance, how can an object you wear, a piece of technology that's basically from the 1700s, still be a go-to source for instant cash? It almost doesn't make sense.
Well, the answer really starts with just one name: Breguet. And listen, this is not just about a fancy logo on a dial. We are talking about the brand, the person, the powerhouse that literally invented modern watchmaking as we know it. And that history, that's the real reason its value is so unshakable. So to really get why a Breguet is such a solid financial asset, you have to go back in time. This has nothing to do with modern marketing or some recent hype. We're talking about a legacy that was built on pure genius-level innovation that completely changed the game. I mean, just look at this resume. It all kicks off in Paris, 1775, but just 5 years in, he's already making the first self-winding watches. A watch that powers itself in 1780? That is mind-blowing. Then comes 1801 and he patents the tourbillon. We'll get to that in a second. By 1815, he is the official timekeeper for the entire French Royal Navy. This isn't just a timeline. It's a list of moments that defined an entire industry.
And yeah, that brings us to the tourbillon. You hear this word thrown around all the time in the world of expensive watches, but what actually is it? Well, put simply, it's this tiny, constantly spinning cage that holds the guts of the watch. As it rotates, it averages out the tiny timing errors caused by gravity, which makes the watch incredibly accurate. It was an absolute masterstroke of engineering, and it's still one of the biggest reasons these watches are worth so much today.
But it's not just about what's on the inside. So much of the value is in a visual style, a DNA that any serious collector can spot from across the room. You've got these incredible, intricate patterns on the dial called guilloche, those unmistakable blue steel hands, that fine coin-edge texture on the side of the case. The whole thing just screams craftsmanship. These aren't just design choices, they're signatures of value.
Okay, so that's the legend, the backstory. But how does all that history translate into a modern-day portfolio of actual assets? Let's take a look at the specific watches that make an expert's eyes light up when they walk through the door.
So let's start with two of Breguet's modern pillars. On one hand, you have the Type XX and XII. These come directly from military pilot watches. They've got this awesome flyback chronograph feature, which meant a pilot could reset the stopwatch with one single push instead of three. Super practical, which makes them super desirable and very liquid. Then there's the Marine, which is a nod to that naval history we talked about, but with a more modern, sporty, luxury feel. Both of these are just fantastic, reliable assets. Now, this quote, which is about the more traditional classique line, is absolutely key. The important word here is steady. These watches are not driven by some flash-in-the-pan internet trend. Their value is timeless. And if you're a lender, that is the absolute dream. It means a predictable market and a base of serious, reliable buyers. Okay, but beyond the daily wear watches and the timeless classics, we enter a whole different league. This is where Breguet shows off its full power, its technical genius. We're talking about the grand complications. And the numbers here, well, they can get staggering. We're talking about watches like the Marine Tourbillon that go for well over 600,000 pounds. When a watch like this shows up, it's not just another piece of collateral. It's a blue-chip asset from the very brand that invented the tourbillon in the first place. All right, we've seen the history, we've seen the portfolio. But now, let's get really practical. Let's look at this through an expert's magnifying glass and see what actually matters when it's time to put a hard dollar amount on one of these incredible watches. Because, it's about so much more than just seeing that famous name on the dial. What's the real process? What are the tiny details that separate a good loan offer from a truly great one? Let's walk through that checklist. It's really a four-step inspection. First up, model and reference number. That tells you immediately if you're dealing with something fairly common or something incredibly rare. Step two, and this is so important, is condition. We're talking about microscopic details here, like how sharp the edges of the case are. Third is completeness. Does it have the original box and papers? That's not just a nice to have. It proves where it came from and can add thousands to the value. And finally, the big one. Who wants to buy this thing right now? And here is a perfect real-world example of why condition is everything. On some watches, a little bit of polishing is no big deal, but on a Breguet with a really distinct shape like their heritage chronograph, if you polish it too much, you soften those sharp signature lines. You basically start to erase its character, and the value can absolutely plummet. An expert spots that in a second. So when you put it all together, a really clear financial logic starts to appear. Those modern sports models, they're liquid. Tons of people want them. The timeless classics, they're reliable, predictable collateral. And the grand complications, well, those are the blue chip assets. They're the rarest of the rare, and they can back up some very, very big loans. Each category is valuable, just in its own way. So in the end, it's pretty clear that the financial power of a Breguet watch isn't just about one thing. It's this perfect balance, a combination of incredible history, mind-boggling craftsmanship, and just rock-solid, stable financial value. It's not just telling you the time. It's a genuine piece of financial security.
And that really leaves us all with a bigger question, doesn't it? In our world of fast fashion and digital trends that come and go in a flash, you have to stop and wonder, what's the real lasting worth of something that was simply built to be timeless?